13 shootings in total.
City of Poughkeepsie?
City of Poughkeepsie in total. And 2 weeks ago, we've had a succession of shootings, about 3 or 4 in that week, where a few people did pass away. Some were shot, but they did survive. But again, this is what we're here to talk about, how policymakers like myself in the county legislature, what we can do in order to, end this violence, or not necessarily end it, but decrease it. In my humble opinion, I truly think that it's less of a violent thing. It's more of, kids not having a place to go. First of all, Poughkeepsie, if you look at it, it's 5 miles long. You can throw a stone and you can be at the end of Poughkeepsie. So we do not have a youth center here. We do have youth programs, but those youth programs like Moving Directions, Real Skills, do not have the financial resources nor the capacity to handle the amount of students that need this help. Yeah, they know.
Mayor Allison is $140,000 set in the budget for that, for youth services.
Right. So
Okay, I wasn't sure you were.
What's the number?
140,000.
140,000.
Yeah.
And so, but those are things that you have to compete for.
No, that's what he's going to appropriate for.
That's what's going to appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So the mayor's going to appropriate 140,000. Good number, it's a good start, but it's still just not enough for the programs that are here and for new programs to start here in order for that to happen. Again, we're here to find a way to decrease that violence, find a way that what we can do, or what I can do as a policymaker, as a legislator, to bring up to the legislature, to bring up to the city council, so that we can have these conversations. Again, I think we do need a youth center here. It's strictly important for our kids to have a place to go, because if they don't, the streets don't care about nobody. They're going to take our kids, they're going to take our nieces, our nephews, and put them in situations where they don't need to be in, and it looks glamorous too, because that's all they have. We need to start better funding education. Community schooling, it was a big part of my life growing up. When I grew up here in Poughkeepsie, when I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York, we did community schooling. Once 3 o'clock hit, there was another elder coming in to teach you something, whether it be basketball techniques, whether it be life development skills. Those are all the things that are missing here in Poughkeepsie that we just do not have. And this is why this violence is happening. We also no longer have a trade school. Ridley Lowell is no longer here. So now we don't have our younger men and our older men, our females, to learn anything of a trade. Some of them don't want to go to university or go to college. They need to find a trade, and there's no place for them to do that. Between Westchester and Albany, in this region, there is nothing like that. So what I proposed to the legislature was something called an EOC, an Educational Opportunity Center. So an Educational Opportunity Center is a state-funded institution where you go and you learn trades, anything from culinary all the way to being a licensed master barber. And you can take that state certification anywhere in New York State and work as a skilled tradesman. We have state workers here, iron workers, plumbers, or unions who are now looking for people out of state, as Ms. Karen Smythe mentioned. She works for CB Strain, a union construction company. These people are looking out of state for workers that we can have right here. Poughkeepsie used to be an industrial area back in the 1800s, back in the 1900s. IBM is here. So that lets you know how big we actually were, especially people of color. We were the ones doing that work. And we were investing in our communities. You know, saying Todd right here, the owner of Pure, he also owns 358 Gallery. An entrepreneur was investing in his community. He could have easily left. He could leave. He got some money to do it, I'm sure. But he decided to stay to be here. And so all of us being here means that we need to start really, really pushing ourselves, getting into council meetings, getting into the county legislature meetings, and demanding what we want. Because, I'll be completely honest, white politicians are not going to care for people of color because it's out of sight and out of mind. They do not live here. They do not have the experiences that we have here. You know what I'm saying? I've lost 32 of my friends from 2011 to 2018 to drugs and violence. I don't think there's any other legislator in the chambers who has something like that. It's out of sight and out of mind for them. So we got to start telling them to stop castrating us economically and socially, or we're going to start casting ballots and taking them out. So that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to listen to you, what ideas you guys have, so that we can bring it up to them. I'm going to introduce the speakers here. This is Lekete Taylor from Community Matters 2, doing a great job in the community. College Hill Park, if you see how good that looks, it's is this guy here, and Kristen Brand as well, who couldn't attend. We have Coral Santos right here, my home girl. She does work with mental patients with addiction. She has a past in that. And then we have Dr. Reverend Williams, Associate Professor at Dutchess Community College, big political advocate with a background in Africana studies. So give it up for our students today. I'll let Lekente start with his introduction, and then we'll move down the road from there.
All right, my name is Legislator Taylor. I'm the founder and CEO of Community Matters 2. A lot of you I've met already and you come to my events. We ask the community to come together and clean up their own neighborhoods, do their own things, be self-sufficient and not depend on politics to get certain things done that we can do ourselves. We have to, my philosophy is, everybody there's a ton of resources we have. We have doctors, we have teachers, we have janitors. So there's a piece to everything. We just need to come together and work together and get it done. There's the youth who look up to us, and at times I feel that we are failing them because we're telling them to look somewhere else for help instead of us helping them. When we're the ones who know what they need, instead of, hey, go to college and figure it out. I think there's a lot of things we need to give them first. And I know the topic is gun violence, and as we come back around, you understand the saying, it begins here where you live with the people here. Every person that shoots a gun at one point was a child. And we have to look at our youth and change that norm. So as they come up, we give them a different path. So their path isn't to carrying a gun or going to drugs. We have that power. We need to use it, come together, and get it done.
And now on to Coral Santos.
Hi everyone, so my name is Coral. I graduated from the University of Albany. That's where I did most of my political work. I was part of Project Inspire, an organization that focuses on alternatives such as community service in the community. So I'm looking to make my imprint here in my hometown of Poughkeepsie. I just wanted to give everyone some statistics right now. So some 57% of all violent crimes by juveniles occur on school days, and 19% are in the hours between 3 and 7 p.m. So as Giancarlo alluded to before, I think a lot of the stuff that we need to focus on is empowering our youth and making sure that we're giving them things to do after school. So according to the National Recreation and Park Association, substantive child activities outside of the classroom, referred to as out of school time, is what can really make a difference in the lives of others. So I think that's something that Poughkeepsie really needs to focus on, and that can contribute to reducing juvenile delinquency. It can contribute to increasing positive behaviors and expose the youth to less violence. The theory is actually very simple. If young people are kept away from the influences that destroy communities, they are less likely to become a part of that destruction themselves. So we really need to focus on making sure there are after-school programs, things that are going to positively improve each person of this community. Specifically, I want to focus on Poughkeepsie High School. As Giancarlo mentioned, it's really important that we have stuff for them to do after school. We need to encourage them. If you don't want to go to college, we need to get you into a trade school. We need to build you up to be a great Samaritan for the public. And we really need to focus on building the youth. So that's what I really wanted to focus on. Dutchess County has had 19 violent crimes per 10,000 residents in 2015 alone. Poughkeepsie's rate was significantly higher at 79 violent crimes per 10,000 residents. So we really need to focus. It's the youth that we're building for the future, and we need to make sure we invest in them and give them plenty of opportunities to make the difference. So I just wanted to finish off with a quote that I love sharing with others. So that is, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. So we need to lead by example.
And now to Reverend Dr. Weldon.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to see so many that came out. Really, when I read and I follow Legislator Giancarlo on Facebook, and I read some of the things he was stating about amount of crime that has happened in a short period of time. I think many of us, if we're honest with ourselves, I think many of us know the answers in the sense that we need resources. Our children need activities. They need things to do. We know idle time, right? That's the devil's playground, right? I think where we need to really come together is again, where we can get these resources. I love what this brother said about some of these resources are within us. That we could come together and have these resources and make these resources available if we come together. Because when we look at each other individually, each of us has something that we could bring to the table. It's about bringing us together and collectively having our resources and making them available to the collective and for the collective. I think on the political side as well, we could kind of get a sense of where the politicians are. If you look, with politics, all you have to do is follow the money.
Yes.
If you follow the money, then you know where their value system lies, right? So if they're not giving money to education, if the schools, now I have family and friends that work in the Poughkeepsie school district, and I would love to say, let's start at the high school, but man, I think we got to start in the middle schools,
elementary school.
Right? We got to really start looking at, if you see what's being cut or what our children lack. Now, I remember I went to the Wappinger Central School District, and when I remember the stuff, field trips, is this something that still happens in schools nowadays?
Right,
Do they go on field trips? Do they have, I remember I was part of a group in 9th grade called Project Adventure, where we actually at the end of the year went camping and stayed overnight. Education is supposed to give the children, allow them to see the world in different ways, allow them to see different realities. And I don't know if this is what our children are getting here in Poughkeepsie. I don't know if the politicians here who look at the funding and try to allocate where funding goes, I don't know if they are, now they might preach that they believe in our children, and they might say and preach that the children are our youth, but when we look at where funds are being allocated and how they're being divided, it might bring forth another reality. So on some level, I believe we have to begin to look within ourselves to try to provide those resources that we know and believe other people will not provide for us. But at the same time, I do believe there's a responsibility we as a community have to ensure that whether it be politicians or other leaders, that we hold them accountable too.
Absolutely.
If there's funding that needs to go to us, we need to hold them accountable. Our children, when they go to these schools, when they go to schools, when they got to come out of these schools, not only prepared to go to college if that's the route we want to take, but as the legislator said, if college is not that route, if they want to have a trade, we should be able to fund that and be able to help them learn that skill or trade. And at the same time, when they come out of these schools, they should be ready to take on the world in whatever fashion they deem to take on the world. So these are things I think we know the answer to. I think the question is, will we do what is necessary within ourselves? Will we do what is necessary within ourselves to ensure that our children have the things that are necessary to move forward, and our community has the things to make sure we can move forward?
Absolutely.
So I also have Mr. C from City PD. He has more than my lifetime on the force, and so I think it'd be great if people heard from you as well. We also know that sometimes city police department can't do everything. There's a lack of officers that are coming into City PD, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't know about. And so you can speak about that struggle and how you guys move forward and what are the techniques that you guys are trying to do to try to take control of the city.
Yeah, we did lose a significant number.
Please stand up. You want to sit down?
If everybody can see me, I'm okay.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
Or hear you.
Okay.
And we're recording, so.
Yeah, we did lose a significant number of officers over the years, but we're working on replenishing them. So we have 6 in the academy now. We're looking to hire several more after that, and get them field trained and get them in the community where they can work with the community on addressing all the issues with the violence that you talk about. So we look forward to working with the community. We're always available. You can always call us, and we'll always we're always willing to work with you.
Is the PAL still active?
PAL is still active, and it's been sort of reinvigorated, if you will. So they are still active.
What is that?
Police athletic league. They do
I mean,
community events. You're right.
When my kids were young, that was such a good foundation.
You're right.
You remember the pictures?
They did softball. They did
They did softball.
t-ball.
Right. mean, and so the county took away the funding for the YMCA and the YWCA, but now they want to give that fund, all of that funding to the gig.
We also have, I don't know how many people are aware, we have the Cocoa with a Cop in even the elementary schools, we have officers going to read to them
Okay.
and do this Cocoa with a Cop and that's been received very positive with the parents as well as the children. So there are a lot of proactive things that are going on. You may not read about them, but there are.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We also have Pastor Whitaker in this series we just walked in by MCA. So we appreciate your work that you do. Give us a quick rundown of what's happening, if you can, Pastor, of what's going on with the YMCA, from start to finish,
Well,
what the issues are.
A lot of issues.
Oh, sorry to put you on the spot. I know you just
Well, that's all right. I just finished our prayer meeting. It was good. I didn't want to leave, but I did promise Dwayne I would try to get here. The YMCA, the Love Center, called the Love Center. The Love Center. Right now is basically nothing. I don't have the support I need. You got a lot of people said they're going to help me, but I haven't got no help yet. The city is about ready to take it. They want to take it because of the taxes. They put it on the tax roll. They taxing me out of it. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to tax me out. I needed help, but I haven't got the help that I needed, especially from the community. Of course, I heard if the city take it back, they're probably going to put a parking garage down there. That's going to eliminate our kids. I'm here to tell everybody they have kids, grandkids, wake up.
Mm-hmm.
They're not building that jail over there for it to be empty.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? That jail is being built for it to be filled. We got a lot of violence going on in here. Let me say this first about the violence. You hear about a violent meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get the violence stopped in this city, you're going to have to get the clergy involved. I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because ain't nothing going to happen to God say so. And if God don't say so, and the biggest problem that is, it's God's people. How many religious people we have in here? Anybody go to church? It's God. What did God say in His Word? It's my people. That's the only time He's going to heal this land when His people turn from their wicked ways. I don't care what government program you can come out and march all day long, all night. I'm here to tell you, ain't nothing going to happen to God's people getting on the right track. It's God's people.
Where have the ministers been? Where have the clergy been all this time?
We have,
All this time.
I don't mean to cut you off. We had a leaders and pastors leadership conference. We sought that up so we can get the pastors. I wanted every pastor in this community to come together so we can, that center down there, if God's people come together, you won't need no help from no government. I'm sorry, you don't need no help from no government if God's people come together.
Where have they been, these children being killed all this time? Where has the
You
clergy
understand?
been? Where's the
You know,
clergy
when I
been?
go to places and speak about the Love Center, people, I'm 70 years old. Me and my wife is getting tired. We've been holding on, spending every dime that we have trying to hold on to that place down there. The pastor, like you said, where have they been? I've been to every one of them. Every pastor in the city that can, I've talked to everyone. Nobody reached a hand to help me, not me a little bit. Yes.
Can you tell us about the nonprofit tax roll status?
For the Love Center?
Right.
They put it on the tax roll because they say I haven't been doing religious activities down there. You can't do no activities down there on the outside. We do something down there every year. The summertime, we have a lot of activities going down there. In the wintertime, we can't do nothing. But let me be honest with you people. There's a lot of people doing a lot of talking, but ain't nobody doing nothing. That's point blank. You got a lot of programs going on in the city, but ain't nobody looked at what can we do with that YMCA. If you get that building back up and running, I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of violence you can stop in this city. The kids, if they would have somewhere to go and something to do.
I agree.
I know that for a fact.
I agree.
But if you don't have nobody, see, ain't nobody, I had that building 4 years. 4 years. None of the pastors, you know who helping me? I got pastors in High Park area. I have pastors across the river. They come and talk to me and help me. Now, yes, I do. My cousin, she helped me. She lived in the city with kids, my cousin. They've got a couple pastors in. No, which one? But I'm here to tell you, I'm not going to worry about it. I can't do it by myself. And I've been telling people I can't do it by myself. You got all these little programs they call themselves community centers. What are they doing for our kids? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I am here to tell you, man, like you're saying, if us clergy don't come together, the people of God don't come together, ain't nothing gonna happen. Because God cannot come and work in mess.
Then it's our responsibility to do it ourselves and let the clergy come on in behind if they want to.
Amen.
They don't have
If
to.
you come, if
We'll
you
be
come,
the
exactly.
leaders.
Exactly. Well, we all are leaders. I'm sorry. Just because you got
We
a
have
clergy
that
title,
potential.
that don't mean nothing.
We have that potential.
If you consider yourself a born-again Christian, you are a leader.
You don't have to be a Christian. Just
You know,
be a
let
good person.
me say this to you. Let me say this because number one, God is just being a good person don't work all the time. People think so, but it don't. God works with His people that called by, He said, by my name. That's the only way He's going to move is by the people that call by His name.
Okay.
Yeah, you can be good, but good is not going to get you in heaven, sweetheart. I'm sorry. Good is not
You
gonna-
can't make that decision for me.
I can say what I can tell you. I can't make that, but I can tell you what the Word of
Okay.
God said.
All right.
That's what the Word of God said. Yes.
So what is it that you exactly need from the community? Do you have,
Support.
so like a to-do list that people can just come in and fill?
Right
A, B,
now-
C, D, and then just have the rules?
Right now, the biggest problem that I've been having is the city. The city don't want me to move forward. They got all kind of rumors out there say it's going to take millions and millions of dollars just to, I think they got 10 million just to get the asbestos. That's a lie. From the pits of hell. The asbestos to get moved out is about 180,000. Get everything cleaned out of there, about 180,000. To get the roof done, about 150,000. I'm here to tell you with $500,000 and we can get that swimming pool up and running and the daycare with $1.5 million. So this way here to take care of the roof, and take care of the asbestos, and you be able to go in there. If the city will work with me, it can be done.
So what you need is you need us to apply pressure, political pressure to the people in city council for you to get that money? Or do you need
It's
funders?
not the city council's money.
Okay. So tell
Most
me-
of the people on the city council will be working. They want to work with me.
Okay.
It's the bigger ones, the bigger flies.
So who exactly, like if I was interested in writing a letter to apply pressure, who would I be addressing
You
it
have to
to?
go to the mayor and with the administrative leader,
Okay.
whoever's in. You
Why
have to go
can't
to-
people apply for grants or apply for funding? Why
No
don't-
one,
why-
the reason why with me is I'm a faith-based.
Okay.
I'm faith-based. Most of your so-called foundations, they don't want to work with faith-based. I'm faith-based. I want to stay faith-based. Because I'm a servant of God. And I'm not going to bend down just to get your money to do what you want me to do. I can't do that.
I
Because
think there are other alternatives. I just wanted to point out that Newburgh and Middletown are model communities that I've done research on. So Middletown actually has a YMCA. The chairman is Emeritus Greg Hogan. So what was done there was he had several donors donate money to help it get funded. And for example, I know that there was a donor that donated roughly $200,000, and he said he would willingly give more money if the community were able to match it. And I can say that in 2 years, the community raised $2 million to replace the pool that was there. You can look all of this information up. So if Middletown can do it and Newburgh can do it, absolutely Poughkeepsie has. By all means, like you said, we need to support each other. So if we really want to make this happen, let's do activities. Let's raise money. We can all make it happen. Newburgh, like I said, Middletown made it happen. So can we. They literally have a YMCA going on. They were able to get donors to contribute money, and that's why their YMCA is running. And they have an after-school activity called Beat the Streets. So throughout the school year, the YMCA opens its doors on like after-school hours and Saturday evenings to offer safe, productive activities for the youth. So I think we should probably look into stuff that Middletown's been doing and model ourselves after.
I'm from Middletown. We also have teen centers. We have a lot of different resources. Newburgh is growing their resources. So I guess my question to the people is, I think, and I would agree with you, Reverend, you got to start younger. So why don't we, the community, because listen, not for nothing, this is to stop the violence, right? Problem is, where's the young people? There's no young people here. So how, just hold that for me, sweetie, please, I'm lying. So there's no young people, so we're really having conversation that's irrelevant because you guys don't know what we go through. I mean, not you guys, but you know, you're getting older. You don't know what we go through in the streets. You can't really relate to us. So this meeting really means nothing because you guys are talking, but you don't have the young people here to say what it is. So with that being said, I agree with you with the matching. So why not utilize your young people? Obviously, you can't get them to come to a meeting here. But you have a lot of these young people out here that are talented. You have musicians, you have artists that want to rap, sing, dance, model, things like that. So why not put these young people, since they don't want to come to these meetings, they don't want to sit here, make them use their talents to make the community some money. Why not put on a big fiasco and have these 8 or 5 artists that want to rap and sing come out here and rap and sing for a couple dollars? Why not have these musicians that want to be musicians and aspire to be musicians? Why not have them come out and do a set? Why not have the models do a fashion show and it all be for the community? That's the only thing I can honestly see you guys pulling these young people out. These meetings are not going to pull them out. Clergy is not going to pull them out. Police is not going to pull them out. As you can see, it's 2 of us here out of all these young people. So now we got to start getting into their lane. What do they like? And then not for nothing, as far as your resources, not, people, college is not for everybody, but you have a Child Supply. He has 2 businesses. Why don't the city partner with these entrepreneurs that have businesses here to give these kids when they after school? You're in high school, you're about to be a senior. I'll give you something towards your thing. Go work for him. If you want to learn how to serve, go be a waitress. Do some internship at these local business. All these entrepreneurs opening these businesses. Those are your resources that you don't always have to. Everything is money, but you use what we have. We have people with businesses opening up. We have community centers. Put them in these. Do you want to be a photographer? Link them up with, I'm just saying, use what they already like and what's liking and what they hear and what they see and expand on that. Because these meetings.
So use the network.
Yes, because these meetings, I'm telling you now, are not it.
Sure.
Because there's
No, I'm just confused. That's why I'm asking. So you guys can't get, the YMCA can't get, the city is stopping the YMCA from getting funding. You can't write a grant. We can't go and try to get anyone to donate any money. I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding.
Let me share this.
Wait, real quick before you go into that, honestly, with you already broke something out. As you know, we're actually working on something you're talking about right now. We're getting some of the kids. All right, thank you very much. I'm glad you said that because that's exactly what it is. But we're getting to the YMCA. We're talking about the YMCA. Let's talk about something. We ain't got that right now. All right, we don't have that right now. I think we need to focus on what we can do right now. We're always talking about what we don't have. Let's stop talking about what we don't have. Let's get a coalition or something together. Get the kids together. Okay? Then you get a political team. They work on those grants, so we work on those youth. Getting them together. And by the time they get up there, you get that funding and they meet in the middle. Before you know it, you're changing things. You have those programs. You have that community center you're working on. But we gotta stop talking about what we need for this and talk about what we got right now. Work on what we got right now and come up with a plan. We're always having these meetings talking about what we need, what we can't have. Let's get a plan. Let's sit down together. Let's get a plan, a real team, and actually start putting some paperwork together. Get into the schools, start opening the churches on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, because our kids aren't doing too good in math. So how about we open Beulah on Wednesdays for math tutoring? Mm-hmm. How about hey Todd, can you open up here real quick? I need some help with some English. How about we use these doors that they walk past every single day and let them in those doors and teach them what they need for now while the other team is working on getting the funding that they need.
Community school.
We need the community to come together. And honestly, you say the young kids don't come out. Let's be real. Not too many people out here reaching the young people for them to come here tonight.
That's a fact.
Okay? So a lot of times we want to come to the meetings and talk, but we ain't reaching out ourselves. You understand what I'm saying?
Keep on doing first. I'll come to you a little bit first.
I think Legislator bring our point. Me and Legislator actually grew up together, went to school together and everything. So definitely proud of where he's going. In regards, I have to go back to the why. In regards to the why, I think it's a long battle for that. Like you said, we got to focus on what we have now. I know we have the family partnership. Maybe we could focus our energy on getting the kids there. We have the high school still. Maybe the teachers will go home, but we can come to the high school and start keeping the kids entertained or whatever that we need to do. We have the middle school. We have all our schools. Listen, we need volunteers. So like you said, we need to focus on what we have. And I'm a businessman. In regards to the kids not coming, we have to go to them. You know who's going to them? Drug dealers, right? The gangs. They're going to our kids. So we got to come back and we got to get to them. They're not going to come to us. You got to go listen, blah, blah, blah. My son is 10 years old. He's read more books in his life than I've read in my life. That's what he does, because I bring it to him. Now it comes to a point, can you take him to Barnes & Noble? I got you, don't worry about it. So you have to bring it to them, so then they'll start asking for it. They'll call them by and say, oh, the high school's not open today? Let's go do something else. Listen, we gotta offer the resources that we have, and then I think everything else will fall into place.
Bob, I'm gonna go to you. What about us for the stuff and then
great example, kind of hear from United Way, the Impact Committee. We give out grants. The Armory in Newburgh on Saturdays, we have to volunteer so many hours. They have 400 kids show up on a Saturday. They have computer lab, they have cooking class, they have even a sewing class to teach kids how to sew. It's amazing what shows up and how many volunteers show up to staff the place on a weekend in Newburgh. The Armory is huge. Here we have the Hudson Valley Community Center and Family Partnership. I'm sure working with Brian and people at Hudson Valley, if funding could come up, they could be open for more hours. And everyone says, it can be done. There's such a thing called as consolidated financial application for New York State. You can be a nonprofit to apply for that. Ron Hicks, Ron from the county. There's money available, but you can have a plan. You can sit here and complain, but I tell you, at Holy Trinity, 400 kids show up on weekends to play basketball.
Hello. Yes. Yes.
So look what you have and start working with that. Don't say what we don't have. Let's work with what we do have.
We'll go to Snug real quick.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Danny Hairston. I am the program coordinator for the Snug Initiative here in Poughkeepsie. We've been in existence almost 2 years now, and we have 3 goals. Our goal is to combat gun violence in Poughkeepsie, make our community safer, but also educate the community on the health-based approach to gun violence. I'm not sure, but I'm going to take a guess that if we're talking about gun violence, we probably have more experience in that other than the police department. We work very well with the police department. What ends up happening is that anytime someone is shot, we get a call and we go out to the hospital, we go out to the site to make sure that there's no retaliation. The other thing that we do is that we hire individuals who are formerly from the street that go out and patrol the streets between the hours of 5 p.m. and 1 a.m. in the morning on the weekends, and 11 to 7 o'clock Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
That's dope.
Some of those hours we actually spend over at PACE doing a violence prevention program over at PACE. One of the things that for us, we know the needs of our community. We know that the youth, so as a youth developer my entire life, I'm going to say yes, and we know what the youth need, but what we're really not talking about is what's perpetuating the violence. And part of that is, we've mentioned it is the community. And I'm not knocking the clergy, but we've been in existence for about a year. Anytime that there's a shooting in the city of Poughkeepsie, we have a response within 72 hours. On Saturday, to respond to all the violence, we had a march from Winnicke all the way up to Mansion Street Park. I ain't had no clergy out there with me. And I'm not knocking the clergy. What I'm saying is that we keep going back to the same old, same old. We're asking for the politicians to divvy up money. We're asking for the clergy to come out and support and bring the group out. But what it is our community. We have to change how the community sees violence. Months ago, when they had the shooting down in Florida, we had marches all around the nation, but nobody marches when a brother gets shot out here in the street like we had the other night.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
And the reason is that because our community has seen that as normal. We have individuals in songs saying, yo, he got shot, he be all right. Most of the times, what needs to go on is not so much having those individuals that have the degrees, but have a brother like I have right here who's done time in the streets, who know how to relate to those individuals and say, come talk to me, let's find you what you need. Once we find individuals that are at high risk of gun violence, then we go into case management mode. We ask you, what do you need in order to get out of the street? You need your GED? You need a job? You need something to eat? You need somewhere to go. We come where they are. We get to your base needs first, because what ends up happening, the reason why our children are seeing these gangs and seeing drug dealers is because the gangs and the drug dealers fit that basic need. Sometimes you have a 13-year-old who's the head of the household because mom has to work 2 jobs because dad's incarcerated or dad may not be here any longer. So what we have to do is we have to understand what that dynamic is and start meeting those base needs. We need to start talking about mental health, because I guarantee you every one of these kids walking around the street have PTSD. If you live in any community, any black community, any inner city community, you are struggling with PTSD. That is the same thing that military veterans come home with that have seen combat. So if you're dealing with that, you can't deal on a day-to-day. Your only thing is fight or flight. Once we understand these things, then we can start to address it. So I say yes, and. But also, let's talk about our individuals that are coming home. Individuals under community supervision, 50% of those individuals are likely to either be a victim of or perpetuator of gun violence. What we've been asking is talking to probation to say, give us those individuals who've been in jail on gun charges. Let us work with them so they're not out here perpetuating this violence. We have youngins that are over at Pace that are on probation. Those are the individuals that are more likely to go out and commit gun violence. So a child is only going to do what they see. We can have as much programs as we want. I've worked in schools from the Bronx to Poughkeepsie. You can provide all the programs that they want, but they go back to the block and they see us as adults fighting each other and acting a jack in the street. They're going to do what they see. So for us as a community, we have to change the community. We have to change the community norms. And I got these brothers out here in the street. I can't take credit for it. I just run it. Brothers like my man Guy out here. Be out there in the night talking to individuals, handing out literature. We got literature that we go out and we pass out to individuals, letting them know that violence is a health issue. It's not necessarily a criminal justice issue. We take a mind state that gun violence is an epidemic. Since we call it an epidemic, let's treat it like it is. Our guys go out there, they interrupt the gun violence, then they find those individuals who are more likely to spread gun violence, provide services to them to get them out, and then we go into the community and tell the community how they can end gun violence. So, point blank, we had a shooting the other night right up here on the corner. Wednesday, we're going to have a shooting response right here, right out here on the street, to bring attention to the fact that we had another shooting here in Poughkeepsie.
What time?
It's at 4 o'clock, man. You guys passing out the flyers. But also what we're going to announce is that, like brothers like Legislator and brothers like my man Tahir, we are going to partner with them to create safe spaces along Main Street. If you have an individual who feels like they might be in a conflict that might result in gun violence and they can't go talk to anybody, they can come in here, somebody will contact us, we'll come out and talk with them, we'll mediate it. My guys, because of the fact, my guys go out with no flak jackets, no stun guns, no pepper spray. My man here is out here basically on his strength of his reputation in the street.
Because that's what's respected, yeah. Exactly. They know that.
And he can go out and say, look, bro, it ain't even worth it. Put the gun down. And they listen. And once we can get them to listen, then we can tell them there's some other things that we can do for you. There's some other help that we can provide you. And then when we see them do that, then we go out in the community. Every month during the summer, we go to one of the different housing communities and we have barbecues. We cook 200 hot dogs, 200 hamburgers, we throw on the music, we feed the community, and we pass out information. We tell them about what we do. Tell them how we as a community can stop this. I don't care what anybody says, it ain't going to be a politician, it ain't going to be a clergy that's going to save us. It's going to be all of us knocking on the doors of our neighbors saying, look, this has to stop. It's us on the block, going from block to block, standing on the corner like, look, brother, I know we have our differences, but let's find another way to end this conflict. Once we can get to that point, then we can really start making change. Because again, if we got people in Florida and California marching every time that somebody gets shot, but yet we have 5 brothers, we've had 3 homicides this year. We've had 7, 8, 9, we had 7 victims since the 31st of October. Ain't nobody else marching for them. We came out, we had about 25, we have a half dozen. Most of those were our brothers who do this in the Bronx, up in Albany and in Mount Vernon. They came up because they're doing the same job. We're in 11 sites throughout upstate.
So communication is the issue.
Communication is the issue. We got to be able to communicate. I mean, and no disrespect to anybody. I didn't even find out about this until this morning. It was somebody who knew what we do and said, this is what's going on. Are you brothers going to come out? And I said, I'm sorry, I didn't know about it. But the thing is that when we are here in these avenues and these networking places, we got to know what's out there so that we can give people the resources. Mm-hmm. Just for example, like when he's doing cleanups, it's like, yo, man, he's cleaning up the block. Let's go holler at him. Go out there and get something. You got a brother here that's got to go in business, like you said, man. Mm-hmm. Hook him up. You know, other than law enforcement, we have a brother who is one of our outreach workers, is the only individual that is not involved with law enforcement that is certified to do workforce training for those coming home from prison. Meaning that he takes them through a program, and by the time they're done with the program, they have the soft skills, and we provide them the connections that they need to go out and find work. Because you'd be amazed how many of these brothers come to us and like, look, I just want to work. And nobody want to be in these streets forever.
Mm-hmm. What about coming home?
Coming home, those are the individuals that we work with. Matter of fact, as far as statewide, we are the biggest re-entry employers throughout the state.
Okay. Not to cut you off, but what about places like Exodus? You guys work?
We work with Exodus.
Exodus as well.
We work with Exodus, but ours is specific because Exodus works with all offenders. We only work with those that are high propensity for gun violence.
Gotcha.
So ours is, we're laser focused on gun violence, ending the gun violence. Any individuals out there who've done other things, then there are places like Exodus, there's places like Project More that we can send them, we can talk to them there, but our main focus is really just ending the gun violence. Like I said, my brothers are out here doing this work, marching in these streets, and I'm honored to be amongst them, to be leading, to be working in this capacity, but it needs to be a community. And for those that are interested, we have a Facebook page. If you don't have Facebook, come see me afterwards. I'll give you my personal phone number that we can get you tied into whatever it is that anytime we have a response. But again, this Wednesday, we're going to have a response right out in front here. It's going to be a press conference talking about the great work that individuals such as Ty is doing, is giving back to the community, but also being an entrepreneur and talking about ways of opening up businesses along Main Street so that they can be safe havens for those individuals that need to seek help.
Kids know it? Do the kids know it?
The kids at Pace know it. What we're going to do, we're going to introduce it now, and we're hoping that places like this will be able to be the conduit to get the word out.
The school is closed Wednesday.
School is closed Wednesday, but this is just to announce the initiative. Once we go out, after announcing the initiative, then we'll be out there because I've worked in the schools in Poughkeepsie. I ran the after-school programs for 4 years in Poughkeepsie. A lot of the kids know me on the block as Coach Danny. They know Coach Luck, so we're out here and they talk to us. So when we get that started, then we'll be able to communicate that with the youth.
Well, amen to that. See, this is exactly, usually town halls are supposed to be for politicians to kind of gloat about the shit they've done. Mm-hmm. And I'm not here to talk about the shit I've done. I'm here to talk about what y'all have done.
Right.
Because they see me as the politician. I'm only the person that writes the pen. But you guys are the ones that are doing the work. So having people like Snug here, Tyler, Kente Taylor, and all of you guys here is the reason why we hold these town halls. Because some of you guys may not know each other and your offices are probably 3 blocks away from each other.
That's true.
You may not even know that. Snug and Rock, ROCC, Tar Brown's the founder of it, they're in the same building.
Remember, we're across the hallway from each other.
They're across the hallway.
But we work with Star.
No, of course.
We work together.
Of
I
course.
just want to say something, we always talk about what the politicians are doing for us. I don't have much, and I give my all to these kids. So I don't come to these kind of events because I'm really not for complaining and talking. I'm more of the doing. We had a summer program, and whenever I had an issue with any of my kids, Snug was there. Snug was there to talk to the kids about how you should be behaving, how you should be respecting one another, but also to reward them for good behavior. So, you know, if we take our little resources and maybe not go splurging or going out to the club and spending all our money on liquor for a weekend and spend our money on these kids, we can create our own program. I have an office in the Partnership Center. I work with the school district. I work with the city council, but I don't wait for anyone to give me any funding or any grants or tell me what way I can do it. I make a way for myself and I make a way for these kids. And I think that everyone who comes to these kind of meetings and do these great research and has all these good ideas really should start putting things into action, because a lot can be done with a little bit. I don't have a lot of money. We had a program for 7 weeks. It ran 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and we had 25 kids, but we had a large waiting list. You know, we had kids who never had any kind of structured programming. And for black and brown kids, most of your learning is lost throughout the summer because you can't engage. You don't have the opportunity to be in these programs. So it's great to sit around and talk about what could happen, what should happen, what's not happening, what we really need to do. Like, for instance, Legislator, he took some time off and came in and talked to the kids about the work he does to inspire the kids, to show kids that black men are successful, that you can do different things. So I think that this is great, but I really think that we should stop blaming others for what they're not doing, and we should look at what we're doing and pour more into our kids ourselves.
Here, here.
So I want to go back to our panel. You know, one of the things that you have done, that you guys have found successful in other areas, I know Reverend Williams in Rockland County, you're a big advocate over there. So what things have you seen there that have been successful, that have been unsuccessful, that could be probably translated here to Dutchess County?
Well, I used to organize in Rockland County, and I'm in Patterson now. I pastor a church in Patterson, New Jersey. But I think one of the things that is successful, I think what Sister Satara was saying, who I know has done a lot of work, is the attitude that black folks spend a year. That's the amount that we contribute to this economy. $1.3 billion, right? Meaning we consume stuff. We're the #1 consumer in this. We buy the most stuff. You see companies trying to gear their advertisement towards us because we buy. Matter of fact, people will put a store in the black community and put an 8-inch glass in front of their face so they don't get shot, but they still will build a store in the community because they know we consume. So the point I'm making is, if we can, it's a value system, and this is kind of what I got from the brother from Snug. It's a value system that we got to reorient ourselves, whether it be the attitude towards violence, whether it be we have it, or we have the capacity to get it. And I think that's what Sister Satara was saying, was that we have the capacity to get it. What we need is, if we want to put something together, we got to just continue to be motivated to put ourselves together. Now, I'm going to be honest, the realm in which I worked at, as far as we started, when I was in Rockland, I started an organization called the Rockland Clergy for Social Justice. We were very disturbed about what was happening in the East Ramapo School District, a school district primarily of people of color. The school board was not of color, and they were stripping funds because their kids didn't go to the public schools. So they were stripping funds. They were being very strategic about that. But it took to get the community to see that, look, we had to really begin to speak out. And what we saw was happening is that a lot of us were dependent on, whether it be politicians, whether it be on whatever, but we were dependent on, and there was a hard time getting people to speak up for themselves. And I think that's what we still kind of see here, that there's a lot of dependency on other things, and the people who are willing to go out there and speak on behalf of the community, it's not the masses. There's still an expectation that somebody else could or would do it for us. And honestly, I believe, like, when we look, again, I said, if you follow the money, I think if we come to the conclusion, there's a lot of people who do not want to see this community successful.
All right.
They don't want to see this community come out from whatever its reputation may be. And I'm saying that to say some of that is strategic. Some of that is on purpose. Some of that comes through policy. Some of that is because they want some of us to get out so they can bring businesses in other communities in here. Amen. So I'm saying one of the things I think we have to recognize in the whole situation is that you got people who are invested in our failure as well. That's why I think it's still important to look at all these avenues, whether it be policy, but all these avenues have to be looked at, because there are people who make investments on our failure. They're building the jails because somebody is invested in our failure. So it's those people that we have to identify. It's those people that we got to make sure they don't get in these positions where they can dictate policies and create all these policies at the same way to get it.
And just to get to that point, you see that now they're trying to revitalize the waterfront. Things that are happening like Rip Van Winkle, and in my personal belief, is those aren't coincidences. That electrical fire just happens to happen again this winter, and the same as last. To late in the morning hours, 3, 4 a.m., finding people who don't have heat and going back to the common council and saying, hey man, these folks don't got heat, and we got to be there. There were some people who represent that part in the county legislator and that part in the county.
Just talk about stuff, it really is pointless. It doesn't mean anything. I was there every single night with those people. Tomorrow we're giving out, or Chris Pentis is giving out free turkeys, and I'm going to buy a whole bunch of canned things. So if we care about what's happening at the waterfront, let's take care of the people already. Anyone who wants to donate, y'all can call Chris Pentis, y'all can call me, anybody who wants to deliver food. We need to do more action because it's just way too much talking. It's too much talking.
So again, to bring me back there, they're revitalizing the waterfront areas like Rip Van Winkle that have duplexes. That in places like Manhattan, you charge $2,000, $3,000 a month for what those cats got for $100 a month. So if you move them out, right, how Reverend said they're invested in our failures, you move them out, you put Manhattan here, right, you create this pipeline of homelessness, which then creates crime because I got to feed my family somehow, and then they're stuck in the jails.
Can I ask you a random question?
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. You's a Rev?
Yes, sir.
You's a Rev. You's a pastor?
I'm a Rev, I'm a pastor, whatever it is.
Amen. That's great. The reason I want to ask you, everything that you said was nothing but the God's honest truth. Everything you said. We spend more money than any other nation in this world. If we was shut down for 1 month, this country would go bankrupt. 1 month. No, it doesn't take a month, maybe a week. If we shut down from spending blacks, this nation will go bankrupt. I say all of that is, see, a lot of y'all probably looking at me like I'm crazy. This is a spiritual battle we are in. I don't know if y'all realize it, but I'm talking to you. Do you think you're in a spiritual battle?
I think the spiritual warfare is definitely part of it.
It's a big part of it.
Yeah.
It's a big part. And if it's a spiritual battle, who can solve a spiritual battle? The only one person can solve a spiritual battle, that's God.
God. We're not here to be a religious pastor. We're here to talk about something that's we appreciate it though. I'm a minister myself.
Let me say this, and I'm leaving. Let me say this, and I'm leaving. Here's the problem. America do not want God in America. Do your research. When God was in America, it was a great country. Until God comes back in America, America ain't gonna be nothing.
Let me just say this, and I'm bringing you don't stay under religion. I'll just say this. I do think that the best way, what I tell my church all the time is, the people need to see a good sermon more than they need to hear a good sermon.
Thank you.
And what I'm saying, what I mean by that is, if we live and we carry ourselves in such a way that people will see a good sermon or see a good scripture, they won't even get. You bring people to whatever, Christ, whoever. You bring people by the actions, right? I can preach and do all that, but if they don't see that in me, then I'm just making a whole lot of noise. So for me, how I frame God, God, if Jesus was here, he wouldn't be sitting on the sidelines seeing all this stuff happening. I'm saying Jesus was crucified. I don't want to preach, but Jesus was crucified not because he was telling everybody he was the Messiah. Jesus was crucified because he was a political threat to the Roman Empire. Right? That crucifix. So I'm just saying that to say he was empowering a group of people who the Roman Empire didn't want to see empowered. And if we were doing the work of Jesus, if you're a Christian, if you're doing the work of Jesus, then you ought to be empowering the people that society has marginalized, that people have exploited. That's who we need to be empowering. The people who've been casted away and seen as the nothings. We need to be empowering them, not just in our words, but in our deeds and in our work. And again, financially, it is important to understand that the reason why why you see hip-hop culture has been commodified. When hip-hop came out, it wouldn't get no award show. It couldn't be on an award show, but it has an infectious... Now, everybody's into hip-hop. The business leaders have found out how to commodify and get money off of hip-hop now, and now everybody... But I'm saying, if we understand our financial impact, and I'm not saying anything that Malcolm X ain't say, that Dr. King ain't say. Dr. King died on his Poor People's Campaign because he was trying to tell America that you gotta go about this redistribution of wealth a different way. And the reason why people are successful in these boycotts is economics. If we can take the money that we spend with someone else and share it with these entrepreneurs who are doing something in the community, then half of these things that we're asking people to give for us, guess what? They're going to be coming to us to figure out how we able to create this, because we use the resources that we used to spend over there. We spend it with brothers like these two who are doing something in the community, with sisters like Satara who are doing something in the community, and then they're going to want to know how do we do it. But also, I'm a history teacher. I also say this to say, I know that there are people who don't want to see us succeed that way. So I'm saying, even when the attitude changes, when we do things, y'all know about Black Wall Street? If you know about Black Wall Street, Oklahoma in 1921, this was a black community that wasn't bothering nobody, that was doing their own thing, that had their millionaires.
North Carolina?
Yep, they did everything. They had, and they were serious, but they had their own community, right? They were bombed and their community was destroyed by white veterans who couldn't understand why they couldn't get a job when they came back, but they saw these black folks flourishing. So I'm just saying, in the whole context of things, I want us to understand, yes, we have the capacity and the resources to do everything we need if we shift our value system. But at the same time, I want you to understand that there are people who are here that are invested in making sure we don't get there. So there has to be a plan, and when we're trying to do for our community, there also has to be a side that recognizes you have people who do not want to see us succeed, and what will we do to combat that enemy as well?
I just have a...
I just want to look around. I want you to speak about the Latin population. I know you and I are Latino, but specifically Latin women who sometimes don't get as much shine as they should. So speak about yourself as a Latino woman who is, trying to work in politics and seeing the things that you see within your community. What are the differences or the similarities with the Black community?
Okay, so as Giancarlo said, I am very proudly a Latina. So I just like to say that I work with whoever. I am obviously someone that is here to empower, especially people of color. I can honestly say that in Poughkeepsie, it's heartbreaking to see how, for example, I was raised by parents who were not born here, who came here, looking for a better life. So a lot of it has to do with just your family in general. If you see your mother and your father, they can't speak the best English, they're trying to get a job, they're trying to get legalized here, they're trying to do everything they can in their power to go about it the right way. We need to focus on those families and make sure that the children in those families are doing what they should through the school system, after school. I can honestly say that at times it's heartbreaking to see how nothing's taken seriously, how they're misguided, how a lot of them are looking for another family. That's why they might join gangs. That's why they might be doing things that they shouldn't after school. But what's really important here, and work that I've done in Albany, was making sure people like this feel like they had a family. So if that meant like us doing cleanups, Go Green initiatives, that's what we would do. If we needed to do food drives for these families that didn't necessarily have stuff for Thanksgiving, for Christmas time, for the holidays, that's what made people feel like they did matter to others. It means the world when a stranger does a deed for you. I like to say that I like to assess how a person is by seeing what they do for someone that can't do anything for them. So that's what I like to share with others. What can you do for someone that can do absolutely nothing for you? That speaks volumes of you. So if I'm like, that could be something as simple as giving a smile to someone down the street. You can encourage them, here's what I'm doing, here's where you can go. I really think that's something that needs to be done in Poughkeepsie in general. We need to feel like we're a family. We need to show others that we care. So I love what Satara said earlier. Instead of just saying things, you need to actually go out and do them. You don't need to necessarily broadcast it or prove I'm being this great, noble person. Just do it. We need to lead by example.
Now, Lucette, since you've done community cleanup, how have you seen the community become more involved? I know you started with King Street Park. Now you completely revitalized College Hill Park. How have you seen things change since you started, and how do you want to see this grow? I mean, what is it that we truly need to empower the youth to come to events like cleanups?
All right. The first cleanup. Well, first I saw that my community, number one, was dirty. Really that simple. It's dirty. Okay. You don't want to be in your house dirty, right? Be dirty. So I saw a lot of people posting their pictures on Facebook, looking all good and everything. And then I looked at their feet and I saw the garbage and everything. I'm walking around, I'm seeing kids playing, and I'm seeing needles and everything. So I'm like, I'm from here, this ain't right. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I simply asked the community to come out and help me clean up. And I got 18 people on my first cleanup.
Not bad.
By my second cleanup, I had 27. I had 53 by my third. By the time we got to College Hill, we had over 100. We went over to Newburgh. We collaborated with Habitats and everything. The community, they want something to do. They don't want to live and hear all this stuff we're talking about, right? They don't want to live in this. It's just, we have to put boots on the ground. Everybody's not going to come off like me. Some people not going to go out there on Moochie and everything where they say it's so bad and go out there and clean up. But because I have that in me, it's my responsibility, because I have children also. That's why I brought my son here tonight, so he can see, number one, he can see a community together, because he doesn't see this a lot. He doesn't see people sitting around like this talking about an issue. So I'm trying to, that void that's there, I'm trying to fill that void. That's how you get people to come out. You gotta fill those voids. You just gotta go out there and do it. There's a bunch of voids which we can all fill. Cleanliness, everybody wants to be clean. And once it was clean, everybody, before you know, everybody's looking on Facebook, before you know, it's like, oh man, I've never seen it like that. I want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of things that aren't normal. It's normal to be dirty. And as they say in inner cities, it's normal to be dirty. It's normal to have gun violence. That's why the shooting happens and you don't get anybody to come out. As far as churches, I went to churches also to come out and help, you know, because at the church, that's the only place, multiple times a month, you will have the janitor sitting with the doctor, looking in one place, listening, all attention. And I think it's those pastors, those people to say, hey, this is what we need to do. Me personally, I feel like church sometimes should be outside.
I was just about to tell you what the people said.
You walking past all these people, all these children, all this stuff. You go and get your word, and then you go home.
Exactly.
But then you ready to judge those people that ain't doing anything. You ready to complain.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
So at the same time, the church does mean a lot, but that doesn't mean we gotta.
That's
you
right.
Still do your own thing. I'm from Poughkeepsie. This is my home. This is where I'm from. I love my city. I love my boy right here. He got his own business. We were little kids. You can't say Poughkeepsie bad when I'm sitting here talking to you right now. Right. He doing his thing. He doing his thing. We all from here. It ain't that bad. We just got to get out and do something. Stop having all these meetings. It's good having a meeting here and there. But get out and do something. When you see a kid with a problem, son, you see him walking down the street, he don't look right. Hey, what's up, big man? And a message to my men. Y'all need to step it up. Real talk. Everybody on live right now, if you're a man, you need to step it up. Real talk. We are men. We're supposed to take care of our community. We're not stepping up. Too many men out there selling drugs. You think it's cool, bro. It's not cool, bro.
Talk to him.
It's not cool because that little kid grows up to be that shooter. And now he gone. And all they doing building that jail, they waiting for that next little kid to become that shooter. And you just keep showing them how to be a shooter. You keep showing them how to be a shooter, then we complain we got a jail. Bro, you gotta start with the youth. I'm talking elementary. Sometimes you gotta show them truth. You gotta show them if there's what happens with gun violence.
Yes.
That one person was killed. Nah, that one person wasn't killed. That daughter was hurt. That son is hurt. That mom is hurt. That grandma's hurt. That's what gun violence does. But instead, they don't see none of that. So all they do is take it as, oh, that person got killed today. You got another shooting today. Nah, a whole family was just messed up, bro. Sometimes you gotta show the youth how things hurt when they're young, so it sticks in them. But when we get older, we're too reactive instead of being proactive. When something happens, we sit here and we talk. When we should have already been out there talking about this. This should be a daily thing. It shouldn't be today. It should be next week, the week after, wintertime, summertime, all that. We should be doing this all the time. We come together right now. Now, what the data says, that we're going to sit here tonight, we're going to talk, and then it's not going to happen.
That's what they're saying.
That's what the data says. Now, what we should do is, we should leave some numbers, find some resources, form a group, use her resources. She got skills. My man got skills. She got skills. He got skills. You got so many skills. I don't want to talk about politics. That's not my side. That's the politicians. I'm sorry. Nothing against y'all. That's not my side. You cool on them.
I said I'm cool.
But politics is politics. You can take care of politics. We are a community. Open your doors. If you're a convenience store, open your doors. If you're a church, open your doors. If you're a business, open your doors. Look at the scores that we're having and saying, hey, our children's doing bad in math. And you know what? We're going to have a study group down the street at this store right here. Who cares? Come out to them. Go to them and say, hey, we should be standing on the corner. And we should be giving them anything they want. They coming out, hey, I got this, my man. What's going on? But it should be so much positivity. They should be like, oh, my God.
Right.
But we don't see that, bro. We going out partying. We popping bottles.
Every weekend.
Bro, that don't do nothing for them. And then we're going to be here 20 years from now talking about the same thing. Why there's so much? Because we're reactive. We need to be proactive. Put your boots on the ground. Take some time. Go out there. Get it done. Stop complaining. Stop asking politicians for everything. Let's get it done. My men, step up and get it done. Simple as that.
And also to answer that, I think a part of it has to do with education.
Definitely.
I had a background in Africana studies, thanks to Weldon McWilliams. I took a class with him in political science, and he threw his Africana studies in there, and it kind of, set the seed in me. And then Giancarlo, I can give you a list of professors that helped me out in my identification as an Afro-Latino. Right. The thing is that we don't have real Black history or real Latino history in our schools. It's not until you get to college that there's this thing called Africana Studies, where you learn more than just Dr. King and Malcolm X. You learn about Marcus Garvey. You learn about Black political thought. You learn about Black psychology and how that all culminates into our mind as people of color. The issue is that we, as people of color, we've grown up without an identity for a very long time. And so the minute that you take things like Africana Studies and you put it into the middle school level, maybe, just maybe, once they identify to who they truly are and what their history is, that we as Black people were the ones who created the concept of zero, and that Socrates and Aristotle and Plato and all those people learned from the ancient mystery systems of Kemet, then they can find out that they're not gangsters, they're scholars. They're the inventors of classical music. Once we start understanding what our history is, at the younger level, let's say 8th grade, then we will have less chaos in our communities partnered with community activism. We have to know who we are. That's why we go in gangs, because we're trying to find out who we are. It's a lack of identity that we have.
Why do we as a school do it? Like, forget they say, why, if
we can do it ourselves.
Let me have Like the Panthers had their own facility.
Yes, they did.
Why can't we open the door? We have brothers that know this history, like, you know what? We're going to go downstairs and we're going to have this lesson for 45 minutes or an hour. Again, it's the same thing. The guy say is that we always going like, can we get this? Can we get this? Instead of figuring out, how can we got it? How can we start it? Where can we start? Heck, I remember when, I'm dating myself, but I remember when we had the energy crisis.
Oh, you're like 25.
Schools was closed. We went down in the basement and had class in the basement. When we can start doing this for ourselves and like, you know what? We can't depend upon other people to teach us. We got to teach ourselves. Each one teach one. Exactly. You know, it's the same reason why the brothers are out there selling bean pies and fighter coke. Those are the ones who came and got me out of college because they was on the corner. They was like, brother, what you doing? Let me hip you to this. And it wasn't so much they was preaching to me. It's like, let me come feed you.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna say anything, but then at a point, then we gonna kick you some knowledge here. Saying then, my brothers, we're not going out straight away saying, you know what, you really need to put all this aside. We're like, nah, what you need, let's go eat, let's go talk a little bit. I understand what you're saying. Okay, once we get to a point where there's a rapport built, then we can make some changes. But a lot of the stuff that we ask to do, we can rock that out ourselves.
Want to go to Jasmine, Kehani, Moochie, and Todd.
All right, so I have two separate points to make. The first one being that my education is primarily politics. I had a political science degree. So everything that you're saying, my friend, was like, you have to understand that people are invested structurally in the city to fail. So my thing was I kind of pulled away from politics because, believe me, you need to be registered to vote and you have to vote because that matters. You're on the grid for that. But we have violence happening in the city because the community is not able to meet its basic needs. Like, this is considered a food desert. So if people aren't able to put food on their table, they're gonna do drastic things to make it work, including being involved in games because they're meeting their basic needs. So what I'm proposing is that there needs to be some more financial education for these children because you're on the chessboard whether or not you acknowledge it. You need to have the education to fight back. You need to have the education to own yourself. And we're not owning the decisions that we make as a family here because people are invested in us failing. So I want to know if there are any financial education courses happening for parents to teach their children, for children to understand the importance of saving early and to build their own economy. Because when people of color get together, you build your own economy, you are never waiting outside of a politician's door. Those people are knocking on doors 100% of the time. So the politics come to you. So I really want to suggest that, that's what I do. Now I'm a woman of color, I own a business where I'm in the city, I'm in the inner city, I'm really eager to build connections with people that want to see their kids educated financially. Because time is the biggest factor in being able to build a solid financial house. And no one here, I don't know about anyone here, but I know that we're just not having a conversation when it comes to educating people on meeting their basic needs and owning the plans that they make for their future. Like, we work hard, you guys deserve to take vacations, you deserve to have a plan for that conversation and building some connections where we're really doing that for ourselves, really educating our own. So.
Kiani. So I just wanted to know from SNUG, aside from doing this shooting response, is there other ways that people in the community can connect and get involved with that work? And then also I just wanted to share a little bit. So I've been living in this community for about 2 years now, but I'm originally from New York City and I come from Harlem, where we have sadly experienced a lot of the same issues, and it's the same pattern that repeats itself in communities across the country. And I just wanted to share briefly about some of the initiatives that I've personally seen work in Harlem, and one of those is the talking about clergy responses. One of them is Man Up in Harlem. There's a few Man Up initiatives around the city and I believe outside of New York City, but what really resonates for me about what I'm hearing here is the need for a direct response and for people in the community to be able to directly connect with these incidents. And so Man Up in Harlem did a prayer walk in one particular part of the community that was experiencing high levels of gang violence and gun violence. And it was ridiculous the frequency that these events were happening. And Man Up in Harlem did these prayer walks every day for a certain period of time. The shootings came down, and they continued to do this for years, and the shootings have come down. And so it's part clergy response based in our traditional faith traditions, and also based in active faith, but also it's being on the ground and putting boots on the ground. So that's one. And two is there's another group that does something very similar to what SNUG is doing, but they do occupy the corners in Harlem around these shootings, and on certain days when traditionally, looking at statistics, these incidents have a pattern. And so when the community is able able to respond in anticipation of that pattern, I've seen that be very powerful in working too. So I would like to get involved where there is a way, a role for me to have a direct impact. I would like to do that.
Definitely. I mean,
Yes. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. And it's funny that you bring up Man Up, because Man Up, our model is modeled after what Man Up does. So basically, it's the health-based approach, which was created by Dr. Gary Slutkin, who is an epidemiologist with the World Health Organization. When he came back to Chicago, he looked at the gun violence in Chicago and surmised that it spreads like an epidemic, so then you treat it as an epidemic. So the same ways that you would treat any type of contagious outbreak, you would use it to gun violence. So using the credible messengers that interrupt gun violence. So that's why individuals like Yaya, anytime there's a shooting, we come out, or anytime we know that groups are having beefs that could lead to gun violence, using those individuals to get in to intervene to figure out how we can bring the temperature down so it doesn't go to that. That's the interruption part. Next, when we know that there's individuals who are affected, those are our participants. So those individuals are between the ages of 14, 24, have are either on probation, have had a gun charge, we know is carrying guns, are involved in street gangs, or had somebody that was shot or killed within the past 6 months or so. We use a formula, we pick those up. Unless they're actively carrying, those are the ones that we go after right away. So those are the ones that we come in and we do case management with. But then events like the prayer walk that they're doing, those are the community changing events. So we have shooting responses, we do numbers events every month. And for individuals who want to get involved, a great way to get involved is being on our committee to help create some of these events. Because there's 4 of us, we have a steering committee that's actually started, which brought SNUG to Poughkeepsie. But now what we're looking at changing that to bring more individuals of the community. So I know we reached out to Ty's been interested, but we want more individuals that are from the community to come on board to be part of that steering committee, so that when we do have instances of events or whatnot, they can go out and they can help mobilize the community. So, you know, it's for us, it's finding those like-minded individuals that want to go out and talk about what it is that we do, and then help us expand the reach of individuals so that we are essentially changing the community norms.
Moochie, I know you have something to say as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to, first I wanted to tell you, Reverend, as you were talking about religion, people were posting that they need to bring church back to the streets.
Exactly.
Instead of putting it back in the church. I just wanted to tell you that. But I just wanted to say, you know, I did 7 years. I did 7 years in prison, and when I came out, thank God, when I went to Monticello, there were resources for people like me when I came out. And when I came out, because it was people that helped me, and it wasn't people with collars and all, it was regular street people that helped me get on the right track. And then when I started my radio station, that's why I did it, because I have a love for people. So I think the first thing, because Satara was like, we just need to start something. So I think the first thing, you know, I'm not from Poughkeepsie, but I'm from the 845, and I love everybody here, and I want everybody to succeed. So I think the first thing that we should consider is, you say the way the people look at the streets, right? What's the street code? No stitching, right? And everybody lives by that, right? So we out here, let's change that. So why don't we give these children, the youth, these people in the street, an incentive? Obviously, we're shooting people because we're robbing them because, we're hungry, whatever the basic need is. That's what we're out here doing it for, right? Why not give them an incentive? You bring a gun, you know somebody has a gun or something, to help them. Because the problem is, out of all these problems, you have guns on the streets. We're having a hard time getting them off the streets. Let's just keep it honest. The police can't get them all. Half of us can't really get them all. We don't know where they're really coming from. So why not start incentives? Give them a reward. Why not give these kids a reward? You don't think I'm 17 years old, and I know that my brother has a gun, but I can get $500 for my house to eat? I'm going to come get, Why not give an incentive to households or to families? And I know it's like the no snitching code, but let's find a way to do it so that they would
make a safer life code.
Make a safer life, not be snitching.
Safer life code.
Let's do something like that. Safer life code.
They have programs like that in New York City, do it quarterly or something like that.
So why we don't bring it here to?
Bring their guns in. There's no penalty.
No nothing.
No pictures. No nothing.
So why do we bring it here?
It tends to be a good turnout. I'm from Washington Heights, man. I've been
You know, because listen, if you probably would get a lot of these guns, because we talk about violence, off the street if they had something to behind it of why we're giving it to you.
Mr. Steve, I think you could add to that. I think you said the city of Poughkeepsie does have something like that.
We've done that here several times in the city of Poughkeepsie. We have done that with the Attorney General's office. We found a lot of people from outside the county brought guns here, not necessarily the majority being within the city. But we did do that. We also have a tips program where we offer $250 for a gun that leads to the drinking gun off the street, as well as $500 for the gun machines in the commission.
Now, is there a way that local people like myself
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say.
Hook up with you because I got connections to the street. You know what I'm saying?
And you be behind the
You be
scenes.
behind the scenes, and like bros are gonna trust me. Young homies are gonna trust me. Be like, okay,
Right.
you see, got the gun. I know nothing's gonna happen to me, and then I can be that guy for you. Be like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna tell you gave it to me,
But I'll,
here it is.
because I'll be quicker to come and give
you
him a
can
gun
give me the gift
than
card,
you.
and I'll give it to the homie that just gave me the
Exactly.
gun. So is there any way that we who have connections to those streets, who have those connections, but we still have that street credibility, can we be that middleman?
That's something that can certainly be discussed.
That's something that can be discussed. So that's something I can be able to discuss with the police chief or something like that.
Because I think that'd be before we talk about anything, I mean, besides, you know, my sister Satara, who's actually, you know, out here and she does everything all day with these kids. But besides us getting the committee together and everything like that, I think that's the first thing that needs to be talked about, is how to get the guns off the street. Now, we focus on the guns. Now let's talk about the community center, the YMCA. Let's talk about the meeting. Okay, we can get into all that. But the here today is the gun violence. How do we get these guns off the street? We need you guys, of course, but we don't need them. We need to figure out, and I think that's the best way. Like pay for play, make the street safe, put a spicy name on it, put a couple of us out there. Let's talk to them, get these guns off. Then we can figure out what to do after that.
Todd, I think you have something to say.
Basically, I'm being very brief. I think, obviously, we talk about action and not just having these meetings, but I think what we should do, we should schedule another meeting after the holiday, and everyone that's here, I think, I don't know.
There's a sign-in sheet back that we...
There might be like 25, 26 people here. Bring a student. Right. Next time you come, bring a student. You know, we have 52. Next time after that, let them bring a student with them. Let it grow. Then we can't do it up here no more. But we have to start small steps. Bring a student next time you come. The next time after that, make sure they bring a student with them. Let's start listening to what they want.
I think what Moochie said is really important about the guns. My friend the other day, she's walking her dog out one of the elementary schools, and she sees a BB gun. Granted, it was only a BB gun, but what's a BB gun doing at an elementary school? You know, this is what our kids see. I would take my kids to the park at Mansion Square Park, and they seeing needles that people were shooting dope with. This is what our kids see, and they shouldn't have to see those kind of things. You know, and then I just want to touch on a couple other things. A lot of people keep saying certain people don't want us to win. I don't even think that should even be a part of the conversation. It doesn't even matter who doesn't want you to win, because when you're doing the right thing, that's the only thing you should be focused on. A lot of people say negative things about the City of Poughkeepsie Police Department, what they're not doing, what they should be doing. Well, maybe you should be a police officer.
Hello.
And do what needs to be done.
Hello.
I can tell you all that the City of Poughkeepsie Police Department was the first organization, first person to donate to my summer program this summer. They were the first people to believe in me. And we had all black kids, Spanish kids. There was no Caucasian kids. It was all kids of color. And they were the first ones to donate. PAL, they're in the community. I'm on the board of directors for the City of Poughkeepsie Baseball League. They support us. I don't see a lot of young black fathers being coaches or volunteering. Our league is failing because we don't have volunteers. We have 200 plus kids, but the kids don't have ways to get to practice. Or they don't have water when they get to practice. Or we don't have volunteers to come out. But the police department supports us. So I think that when we say negative stuff about people, we really should take our energy into the positive things. We say so much stuff, bad things about the city